Hello friends, Tal here, and welcome to How to Tank Normal/Heroic Elerethe Renferal, and I hope I said that correct. It's a little bit of a confusing name. This is the commonly second encounter in the Emerald Nightmare raid. It is the spider/bird boss, and it's actually a pretty enjoyable two-phase fight with an intermission right in between. And let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Now this is usually a 2-tankable fight, but it can be a 3-tanked fight if your tanks are having a little bit of trouble with the Web of Pain debuff, or if your DPS is having a little bit of trouble killing the spider ads very quickly. Essentially, when you pull this boss, you're going to have your 2 tanks take a Web of Pain. Now what this does is it shares damage between both of the tanks, so if it hits tank A for 100, tank B takes 100 damage as well. And when you stretch beyond a certain limit, a certain distance I should say, the damage goes up. So tank A will take 100 damage, but all of a sudden tank B is taking 150 damage instead. So you want to go ahead and stay near each other as much as humanly possible. From then, you're going to be tanking the boss, who's going to be putting debuffs out on the raid, and she will eventually go up into the air and during a feeding time. Now what you have to worry about here is that there's going to be a green circle that's going to drop down, and you want to move away from it because it's going to do damage to you. But the important thing to know is that one of the tanks is going to have to pick up the spider ads that start spawning, while the other tank moves as far away as possible to get away from the spider ads that need to be tanked somewhere further away from the boss, so it doesn't buff the boss or do anything like that. But more importantly, because the spiders drop a green void zone under them when they are killed. Now usually if you have the 2 tank strat, your tanks are going to be spread out further than the Web of Pain should be, so there's going to be a moment of intense damage between the 2 tanks, especially because the spider ads put a little venom debuff on their target. So depending on how long those spiders live, depending on if people pull too many extra spiders by standing on the eggs, that's when you want to go ahead and bring in the 3rd tank if it's causing problems. But this is very easily 2-tankable. Once those spiders are dead, the other tank comes closer to the first tank that's tanking the boss, and you should be fine from there to move on. It is important to note that absorb mechanics such as Ignore Pain for warriors or Blood Shield for blood decays do reduce the damage or negate the Web of Pain. So for example, if your warrior has a 200k Ignore Pain up, that 200k when the damage is being taken is not going to transfer over to the other tank that's holding it. So usually you want to have an absorption tank like that, main tanking the spider boss while she's in that phase. Now usually you get about 2 feeding times before you finally get into a point where she transitions into her bird form, the rock form. You're still on the first platform here on the map, and what's going to end up happening is that you're not going to have Web of Pain on you anymore, so you're going to start summoning twisters on other people, but for the most part the tanks don't have to worry about doing anything at this moment. You maybe want to position her closer to a wall, so that when she does her Gathering Storm or her knockback, or pushback I should say, your raid can be pushed up against a wall while still able to DPS the boss and not lose any uptime, and you yourself want to be running against the current. You don't want to be pushed off the platform or anything like that. It's not a very difficult moment, but eventually she summons little feathers and she moves over into another platform, beginning the intermission phase. Now what you need to know here is there is one tank that needs to get immediately to the other side and start tanking the boss, and there is one tank that should try to pick up a feather so that they can start to manage some of the spider ads. When the raid runs over the webs that connect the 3 platforms, spiders are spawned. If you're lucky enough to have a warlock that's able to put up a portal so that your raid can avoid most of that, then fair play there, you don't have to worry about it as much, but you will still get 1 or 2 spiders. What you need to do is you need to get the spiders, move them off into the side, and just jump up and use your feather buff, because you are the tank that should be on spiders, so you should have a feather, and just jump down, stomp on them very quickly. Don't waste the DPS's time by having them DPS the spiders. You can handle that one shot, no problem, and then you need to get back over to the tank. In the rock form and on this new platform, the boss is going to be doing something called Raking Claws or Raking Talons. It is basically the tank swap. She'll hit one tank, it's a cast, she'll hit them, she'll start doing her normal auto attacks, and then very quickly get into a second cast. And obviously you do not want one tank tanking both of those casts. You can survive it with big cooldowns, but it's a little unnecessary. It's not a big thing that needs to be worried about really. It's a very simple tank swap, just do it. And then you're going to be just taking the boss normally. She doesn't do too much more besides something called a razor wing, which is a big knockback in front of her. Just stand off to the side or stand behind her. You don't need to worry about, she's not going to turn or anything like that. And eventually you'll keep DPSing her until she gets down into her spider form once again. Now, nothing changes from the first initial spider form. She's still going to be putting Web of Pain on you. She's still going to jump up and do feeding time. You still need one tank to take ads off into the side, and another tank to take the boss, and you'll get another feeding time. And finally, she'll transition into her rock form once again. Now, depending on your DPS, how good everything's been going, she'll probably die around this time. If you do happen to get onto the third platform though, you basically transition through the intermission again. You have to just run off to the other side. It's a lot closer, and you don't really need to fly, but you can if you want to. You gather the spiders up again, you kill them, and then you just start taking the boss and finishing her off. There's going to be little eggs that spawn around you. It's really not that complicated, just people need to not hit the eggs, and if they do spawn spiders, and just move them out of the way. But most of the time, by this point, the boss should be dead or close to dying, so you'll likely never get over to the third side on normal heroic unless things have gone catastrophically wrong. But essentially, if you are doing the 3 tank strat, you basically do the same thing again. 2 of the tanks are going to get Web of Pain, 1 of them will not. It's not entirely controllable who gets what, but you basically just have to, work on your feet, think on your feet, and you're going to be taking the spiders off to the side. You're going to be making sure that 2 tanks get the Raking Claws or Raking Talons. All 3 tanks avoid the Razor Wings. It's a very simple, easy, not very difficult fight. All that I would say is annoying, or maybe the deadly part, is if too many DPS walk over, or too many raiders, I guess, walk over the eggs and spawn too many spiders, the poison and the debuff from them will start to chunk you because it stacks, continuing. So it gets a little sketchy and a little scary, especially when you have like 2 tanks and 1 tank is, taking that debuff while having the Web of Pain extended. That could be really, really scary. But for the most part, if you're doing the fight correctly, you shouldn't have to worry about that. It shouldn't be a factor, and it shouldn't be anything that will kill you. Beyond that, guys, it's a very simple, easy fight. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and watch some more of this content. We're going to be doing Mythic right after this. I hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic day. See you guys around. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and drop it a like. You can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content just like this. And I want to thank the time each and every single one of you took out of your day to go ahead and watch this, as well as a very special thank you to my Patreon patrons who continue to make this dream a reality through their monthly continued support. If you'd like to go ahead and become a Patreon patron, you can go ahead and click right there on the logo. It'll take you right to the page. And other than that, you can go ahead and tweet me or follow me at Tauriel here on Twitter. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic day. See you guys around.
Turns to gray, we'll calmly walk away from the fray. When structure falls and all else